Hey all, we're starting the live stream here the live stream started. We're starting the podcast here in a second. Just getting set up, getting ready. Okay, so we have the rundown already, so we're just literally about to start. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go over, just go over the rundown real quick. Get mentally prepared, and you guys can also hear about it, so you guys can hear what we're talking about. So if you have anything to talk about in this, I could fill in any comments. I don't know exactly who's watching because I'm not on the live stream thing right now. But if anyone's watching, I'll pull up in a second the comments if you have any comments on anything. So we're talking about Cedar Point installing the metal detectors on Steel Vengeance. I'm not a very big fan of this. They did this with at my home park with Twisted Timbers as well. I'm not a humongous fan of this. So take that as you will. So if you have any comments on that, regardless of your opinion on it, even if you think it's a good thing, I'll read about it. Baba Jalin, we're going to talk about that. With Fury, the triple launch coaster, you're going to be able to choose the way that you're going to be going, either forwards or backwards on this roller coaster. So that's going to be cool. You're going to have like a little button on your restraint, I believe, and you'll just get shot up. We're talking about Kings Island and how Cedar Fair filed the new names, Orion and Polaris. We're talking about the blueprints for the lift hill that were released and how it's very similar to Fury 225s. And then we're going to talk about the leaked layout and how it is probably fake because the link that it was posted to was actually an edible link. Anyone could access that link and could edit that link. So I think someone probably just threw it up there on there as a tease, as a joke. Anyone able to get on Photoshop could have made that. And it wasn't really official, but it didn't seem official documentation. So any comments on that, feel free to write them. We're going to talk about my Carowinds trip I took the other week. We're going to talk about Busch Gardens trip, and I rode Finnegan's Flyer. We're going to talk about what is the best park in Germany, and then the next week's weekly poll will be what is the top 5 parks. What is the best top 5 that a park has? So I'm going to ask for your opinions on that. I know there's going to be a lot of Six Flags Magic Mountains, a lot of Cedar Points. I'm hoping to get some more diverse ones than just those two because I know those two are highly regarded as two of the best, but I'm hoping to get some, throw some wild ones at me. I don't mind. Your opinion is just as valuable as, the Cedar Point fanboys or the Six Flags Magic Mountain fanboys. So if you think Knoebels or, something weird like that, let me know. That's awesome. I just want to know. And then we can look more into depth on those parks and look more into depth on those coasters. Because I'm sure I'm going to get like a million Cedar Points, a million Six Flags Magic Mountains, and I'm going to be like, can I get some more diverse responses here, please? Because I don't want to keep talking about the same 2 parks over and over. So please, if you have a unique opinion on that, or even if you think Cedar Point or Six Flags Magic Mountain is the best, which one that's not those two, maybe I'll have to post that. Maybe I'll say excluding those 2 parks, because those parks are definitely going to get a million responses. So I'll add that in there. Because I can already tell that those are going to get a lot of responses. Because in my opinion, they have 2 of the best as well. So we're going to start here right now. Let me just, I got the audio set up. So I'm on my Audacity, and we're just going to start it up. Let me make sure I have the responses open. Okay, so I got to get the responses because last week's weekly poll was the best park in Germany. We didn't get too many responses because I think people were afraid that because they hadn't been to Germany, that it wouldn't be accepted as a correct response for some reason. Whenever I have a weekly poll, anyone's welcome to answer. Anyone's welcome to respond. Okay, so someone actually wrote me a response in German, so I want to translate that. It's Wheel S. What is... This is weird. German is a weird language. Mamba und Terran. I probably could have translated this without actually doing this. Now that I read it, it's almost like it's in English. Okay. Phantasialand, because it is nice and has both Black Mamba and Terran. Okie dokie, so let's start this podcast. I got to ride one of my favorite roller coasters of all time this past weekend. Fury 325 at Carowinds. Not this past weekend, by the way. It was 2 weekends ago. No one's really going to notice, are they? But I want to be exact. 2 weeks ago, I got to ride one of my favorite roller coasters of all time, Fury 325 at Carowinds in Charlotte, Virginia. I messed up again. Okay. 2 weekends ago, I got to ride one of my favorite roller coasters of all time, Fury 325 in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a fantastic, fantastic ride. Fantastic park. Got to ride Copperhead Strike. Got to ride Afterburn. Got to ride Intimidator. All the great rides there. It was so much fun. It was such a great time. And I'm going to talk way more into depth about this experience that I got because it was more than just going to the park. I got a really cool treatment and a really cool event that I went to. So I will discuss more in depth on that event later on in the show. Welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. My name is James Barber. It has been a packed week in terms of roller coaster news. There's been a lot of things going on. Some things that I'm a little upset about, some things that I'm thrilled about and I'm really excited about. So let's go into the first segment and talk about some of these things in attraction news. Okay. Cedar Point has installed a metal detector at Steel Vengeance and is asking every guest to remove cell phone and keys from their pockets and then put them into the zipper pouches that are mounted onto the train underneath your legs. Other small objects can be also secured in cargo pants if you're wearing them. So basically, if they don't fit, then you're not going to be able to ride, and if you don't have cargo pants. So again, last weekend I talked about this with Twisted Timbers a lot, and it's a terrible system. I mean, I know Cedar Fair is talking about safety. I know they're talking about all this. But, I mean, you look at some of that. I mean, basically, I'd say 85% of the Cedar Fair rides have bins, and there's no problem. It's for some reason, and I know people are like, well, these RMCs are way more wild, out of control. They're going to fly. Yes, but instructing a strict policy such as lockers, now there's a metal detector, and now what's happening now is you're going to have to go through a freaking metal detector, and then even if you're okayed and you're cleared, these little pouches are supposed to fit all your loose articles. And if they don't, hopefully you're wearing cargo pants. And if not, you're going to get booted off the ride. You're not going to be able to ride because I'm telling you, I have the RMC Twisted Timbers right now in my back door. I go there all the time to Kings Dominion. And those pouches fit like a phone, and that is it. So if you have sunglasses without a strap, if you have keys, if you have a wallet, you're not fitting all four of those things inside of a pouch. You're not. It's not possible. And you're going to be, you're not going to let you ride it, especially if you don't have cargo pants. So for enthusiasts, I would say, we're good because we almost always wear cargo pants. But if you're not an enthusiast, you're a general public, there's going to be a lot of complaints about this because they're going to get up there, they're going to go through the metal detectors, they're going to be told that they're okay to go, then they're going to get on the ride and try to put their stuff in there, and they're going to have faults with it, they're going to have difficulties, and people are going to be like, well, I was told I could bring my stuff on this platform. I was told I could ride with the loose articles, and now I'm being told I can't. Now I'm being told I have to get out of line and buy a locker. I have a feeling that's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to be generous and say, hey, well, next time you come back, just tell them that last time your loose articles couldn't go, so now you can, cut the line or whatever. I don't know how they're going to fix that problem because I'm sure it's going to happen a lot. I don't know if they're going to give line passes, front of the line passes, or what, because that's going to infuriate a lot of people waiting 2-3 hours for Steel Vengeance and then being told they have to get off the ride because they don't have cargo pants and they don't have enough room to put any of their objects in. So Cedar Point, I think it's just created another big problem. I was really hoping that this wouldn't happen. I know it happened at Twisted Timbers, and I'm like, please just don't do it to Steel Vengeance. And they did. They made the metal detector, and it also slows down operations. I heard from some people that the checking the cards or the stamps on your hand, with Twisted Timbers, they have the card system now. With Steel Vengeance, I believe they still have the stamps. So the checking of the stamps takes up to 3 to 4 minutes. So instead of being sent out in under a minute and getting that line through, getting people through the line, it's going to be 3 to 4 minutes sitting there looking at your hand and making sure that you're good to go and that everything's away and that you don't have loose articles in your pockets. So it looks like a pretty terrible operation they're running there. I'm a little disappointed with this decision. I'm really mad about it. I think there's other ways to go about it. I mean, ride bins. There's a lot of solutions that I've talked about many times on the show. I'm not going to go into too much, but Cedar Fair has done this to now Cedar Point and to Kings Dominion. Hopefully, it doesn't seem like they're doing this on any other. It looks like it's just on their 2 RMCs that they're instructing this policy on. Hopefully, it doesn't spread to any new coasters. I know Copperhead Strike did not receive this treatment, so hopefully this is a RMC only treatment. Hopefully when they get new RMCs, they won't. Hopefully they'll have some other solution, because this is not going to work, I don't think, very successfully. So hopefully if they get new RMCs, which they might not now, they have had so many issues, but once they get new RMCs, hopefully they'll fix this issue and find some other way to secure loose articles. And since they're in they're going through this weird phase where they want to secure all loose articles and stuff. But anyway, Baba John Land, which is a park in the Benelux, which is like a Western European region, is opening Fury, a triple launch coaster by Gerstlauer. And you might say, well, we've already talked about this on the show before, which we have, but I just want to kind of recap, because then there's something big that they're going to be actually doing on this ride. So this ride's going to be the tallest triple launch coaster in the Benelux, with a top hat height of 141 feet tall. Next to that, it'll be holding the record for being the fastest coaster in the Benelux, slightly beating Goliath, with a max speed of 66.2 miles per hour. And Fury will have 4 inversions. Also a world-exclusive feature of being able to choose which way you will be going on the ride. So you might say, what does that mean? Fronting face. Is it going to have like seats facing backwards, seating forwards? No, it's nothing like that. The ride actually is programmed to either go forwards and take you on a forward-facing adventure, or go backwards and you'll be facing the backwards direction. And how awesome is that? So basically, they are going to have some type of system on their restraints where there's going to be like a voting button, and you will get to choose which way you want to go. So the majority rules. So whoever, if there's, I believe there's 12 people per train. So if 8 people vote to go forwards, you're going to go on forwards. But if 8 people will go backwards, you're going to be going backwards. So it's a majority rule. And if there is a tie, you might say, is it just going to break down or what? What's going to happen there? They actually have a system where it's just going to randomly choose, and you're going to go whichever way the system decides. So that's really awesome. I think that's one of the most unique features I've seen on any roller coaster ever. Not only do you not get to, it's not where you get, like, you don't get to pick your seat, like, facing backwards or forwards. It's nothing like that. It's not you get to pick what like, show element you're going to go to. Like for Bolton at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, if you can time it out correctly, you can kind of choose what you're going to see in the show building. The wolves, the spirit of the forest, etc. So now you actually get to choose which way you're going to go in the roller coaster. So which direction it's going to launch you in. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's so awesome. I think it's going to be a fantastic ride. I'm really excited to hopefully get down to Baba John Land one day. I'm going on my Europe trip in a couple years, so I'm hoping to hit that up. So that sounds like a fantastic addition to this. Already amazing. It already looked like an amazing ride, and now it's even another great thing on top of it. So Kings Island has had a lot of news centered around this park in the past week, because Cedar Fair, a couple of days ago, filed for a new ride name trademark. And there were 2 names, Orion and Polaris. And so the chances are this could be for the Kings Island Giga. That's what everyone's saying. It's the Kings Island Giga. And they both carry like a universal theme of, being related to the stars and the sky and the universe. Orion is one of the most famous constellations. He's up in the sky. And then Polaris is the North Star. So it seems like they're going on a theme here, some kind of, universe, galaxy, space theme here. So that looks really awesome. But also what happened is that the blueprints for the first lift have been found. They were someone, KI Central, who is a Facebook, Instagram, social media page. Check them out. I have a couple of friends located in that group. They went to the Mason City Courthouse and obtained the Kings Island blueprints for the lift hill. So that's really awesome. And it's almost an identical match. Someone on, I believe it was Reddit, did like a recreation of Fury next to this blueprint of this lift hill, and they're almost identical. So it kind of shows it's going to be a Giga, but we'll wait and see. But that does look fantastic. And then a leaked layout has been making its way around the community. I strongly feel that these are fake, and you might say, "Why are you just saying that because you're disapproving of them?" No, what happened is one of my friends actually found the link to the website where they were actually originally leaked, the actual layout, and it was an edible website. It was editable. Anyone could edit it. So anybody in the entire world could have gone on this website and posted that image. Anyone with Photoshop, could have made that, because they didn't really look like official documents. But I was willing to believe that those are real until I found out that that was where they were found, on a website that anyone in the entire world could edit. Anyone could go on Photoshop, throw up a projection onto Kings Island's area on like Google Maps or something, screenshot it, and then it's on. It's the layout. And also, even regardless of, maybe you say I'm lying and maybe you don't believe what I'm saying is correct, which is fair, because, why would you believe me? This is a coaster that the layout that was leaked was barely 5,000 feet. Barely. It was short. And so I really think, why would Kings Island invest in a coaster of this magnitude, a giga coaster, 92 miles per hour, and it only goes almost 5,000 feet? Like, that is the definition. That's not even like in the top 30 longest coasters. I believe Diamondback is definitely longer than 5,000. Diamondback's close to 5,300. Beast obviously is up there. So this wouldn't even be the second longest coaster in the park. It would be like the third. That is, for a giga coaster. I understand it not surpassing the Beast, because you're not gonna pass the Beast in terms of length unless you just throw them. You'd have to make a really long land there. But Diamondback is like a mediocre in terms of length. It is not a long coaster by any means. It's definitely lengthy, but for a giga coaster to not be longer than a B&M Hypercoaster, what's the point? The point of a giga coaster is to have that long, fun, fast, speed-filled ride. If it's only 5,000, maybe even less than 5,000 feet long, that's not much of a ride experience at all. Regardless, I still not complaining. I would love a giga. I don't really care, even if that is. But like I said, it's an editable website. Anyone could have gone on that website and put that up there. They didn't really look official in the first place, and so I'm not too keen on those being the actual documents. If it is, then I'm wrong. I don't really care. Again, it's a giga coaster. It looks great. A lot of people, the rumor was this would be the biggest giga coaster. It'd be going up 350, 360 feet, going on maybe over 100 miles per hour, maybe going past 6,000, 7,000 feet of track. And then we get this as the leak, and I'm a little disappointed. But I'm glad I kind of found out that was fake. I think it was fake. You have a right to your opinion. If you think it's not fake, that's fair. But I think the evidence points in the direction of it probably being a fake leak, because it reminds me a lot of the Six Flags Fiesta Texas situation a couple years ago, where there was a big GCI coaster rumored for there, and then all of a sudden, guess what? Big GCI blueprints show up with a GCI wooden roller coaster on Six Flags Fiesta Texas. It looked way more official than these ones do, and that turned into being fake as well. So never trust automatically a leak, I will tell you, unless there is solid evidence, like the Chaos Central guys with those blueprints. They were actually taken at the Mason City Courthouse. That is official. You cannot deny that those are real. They would not be at the city courthouse if they were not real. But these are just found on a website, a random website, has no evidence to back it up. It's just a random, it's not even blueprints. It's just like a couple of lines indicating where the ride is going to go. That's not even a blueprints. That is just a layout, and they're very minimal on explaining anything that actually goes on the ride. So I really feel like if they are real, that whoever made these art is not an engineer. Maybe they saw it and they were like, okay, we're gonna maybe Kings Island did this to tease us. I don't know, but whoever did this obviously was not an engineer, because these are some of the worst blueprints or layout. I know it's not really blueprints; it's supposed to be just the layout, but it's terrible. It's not very visible. I actually had to brighten it up a lot to actually be able to see the layout very well. It was very poorly designed. So I feel like, if this is the official layout, then whoever created this was terrible at Photoshop, or whoever the hell made this. They're awful at their job. I don't know. Maybe Kings Island did this to troll us. I have a feeling that it was just some coaster boy throwing something up on Photoshop and creating this. But I don't know. I'm definitely curious and seeing if that is the Giga Coaster we're going to get. It's a little disappointing, I agree. But hey, it's a Giga Coaster. Kings Island has been rumored to get one for a while, and you can't complain. It's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of that more than actually what actually happens, because I want to see if that's actually the actual layout. Because if it is again, it's a strange situation. But yeah, that's about it for the Coaster Craze. I mean, a lot of news happened this week. Kings Island with the Giga, Baba John Land Fury. That was probably the best thing that happened, I thought. And then, of course, Cedar Point with that terrible decision to put those lockers in. But we're going to go into the next segment and talk about a couple of trips I took this past week and two. And we're going to do that in the segment we call Coaster Craze. Okie dokie. So Carowinds is a park that I've visited since 2017. I've gone every year since 2017, so that's 3 years in a row now. And it's a park that I really, really enjoy. I really, really like a lot. It has one of my favorite roller coasters of all time, Fury 325. It has Afterburn, one of Fantastic B&M Invert. It has Intimidator, which is, in my opinion, mediocre hypercoaster, but it still provides a good experience. And then, of course, the brand new roller coaster, Copperhead Strike, just opened this year, the Mack Multi-Launch roller coaster. And so I'm going to discuss something that not a lot of people get to do. I mean, there are definitely events around the Cedar Fair chain, at least, centered around camping out at a theme park, right? And it's Kings Dominion, Cedar Point, Kings Island, Carowinds. There's multiple others as well. But I got to do the Carowinds version of this called the Coaster Campout. And you might say, like, are you camping out on a roller? What do you do? So I'm going to explain a little bit. So before I get into the actual event and talk about what we did, I'm just going to explain that it was a campout at the park, but it was not obviously in a coaster station, or it wasn't really. But we were next to Intimidator, which is pretty great. And I have to tell you, being at a park at like 1 and 2 in the morning is amazing. There's nobody there. It's silent. None of the coasters are running. Fury is like a giant night light because that green beam stays on all night. So that was really cool. And so yeah, I mean, it was an unbelievable experience. I would, if anyone ever tells you that it's not, I believe it was $200. It was $200 to attend this event. If anyone ever tells you that $200 is not worth what I did, then you're straight up wrong. $200, and now I'm gonna go in more depth on what we did, and maybe hopefully you'll see why $200 is worth it. So we get to the park, we go check in at Harmony Hall, which is the big restaurant there at a Carowinds. It's basically a modern De Fest house, if anyone's been to Busch Gardens or the Fest House at Kings Island. It's just a big restaurant with a variety of food selections. It has a big stage where they have presentations. I believe they do like their media days there, and they also have a big screen that which we utilized during the campout, which I'll talk about more later. And so basically what we did was, like I said, we checked in, we got our dinner, we got free dinner. So there again, that adds, keep in mind the $200 there, that adds to the $200 there. So we got free dinner without paying, without any money being pulled out. We got free tickets for our dinner. We got free admission for the next day at the park. Even though we have platinum passes, our friends who are with us did not. So they were allowed to get back into the park again with free admission. And that was really great. And so it was a fantastic already start to the day. Just getting dinner, just sitting down with, we had some Cedar Fair executives there. Carowinds executives. It wasn't really Cedar Fair. It wasn't like their high-ranking officials, but it was, I believe he was the director of marketing. So that was really cool to, talk with them. And then we basically went out on our separate ways, rode some of the roller coasters, did all that. And then from, I believe it was 8:30, the park closed, or 8 actually it closed, but 8:30 we made our way back over. We had already set up our tents and everything. That was after dinner, and then we went off for like a half an hour, rode a couple rides and stuff, and then we go back to our tent. We get ready, and then from 8:30 to 10 was ERT on Copperhead Strike, and that's the brand new roller coaster at Carowinds. Obviously, hopefully all of you know that listening to this podcast, and I got 31 rides on that thing. 31. That's more than I was there with other Carowinds people the next day who have gotten 20, 25, 30. So I had beaten, in one night, the amount of rides that people that go to Carowinds a couple weeks in a row at a time, and I'm already beating that. I mean, I'm probably not going to go back this year. And so, 31 rides on a roller coaster is fantastic. That's the most I think I've ever gotten in terms of one session on an ERT. I got about 25 on El Toro. I've gotten, 20 on I-305. Went on one consecutive ERT without getting out of my seat. Changing trains every once in a while, but not really getting out of my seat in terms of that. But, switching seats. I got in the front row, back row, middle row. Any row you could possibly get, and I was in it. That's amazing. 31 rides. So just keep that in mind. So again, add that to the $200 there. And then we're walking back. Then the ride-ups on Copperhead Strike were fantastic too. They were singing with us. They were dancing with us. It was a great experience. It was one of the absolutely greatest experiences I've ever had. It was a lot of fun. And I guess I can talk a little bit about Copperhead Strike because I'm doing a review on my YouTube channel, but a lot of people that listen to the podcast don't really listen to YouTube channel because they like to listen to the podcast more. So if you're listening to this, you're probably wanting to listen to the podcast. So Copperhead Strike starts off with the big JoJo roll, which a lot of people are a fan of, and I was a pretty big fan of. After riding it close to 30 times, it got kind of, over the top. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be sick. I'm going to vomit. But I never did. Thank God. It was great though. And then we went through the launch barn. It's a little hard to understand what they're saying in the launch barn. I know it was like, Granny, like the lights turn on and boys, there's someone in our farm or whatever. And they're like, what, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. Go get them. And, and then they come after you and chase you. It's a little hard to hear them in there. But that didn't really matter. And you get launched out. The first launch, nothing. It's not really intense at all. There's nothing there to it, which a lot of people already know. The first vertical loop is the most insane hang time I've ever gotten on any roller coaster in my entire life. You literally feel like you're stopping in the middle of the vertical loop. It was great. And then you do the first airtime hill is straight up ejector. You go through that like 0G roll, which is fantastic. You go through like a little helix. You go up another airtime hill, and then you go through the next vertical loop, and then you go up the airtime hill with the inversion. Then you do like the cutback, and then you go down, and then you do the next vertical loop. And then I've memorized the layout because I wrote it so much, and I never thought I would memorize that layout, but it was great. It was fantastic. Someone that is telling you the ride's overrated is probably someone that hasn't rode it that much, honestly, and probably hasn't rode it at night, because I rode it the next day, and I'm like, yeah, that was definitely not as good. But those night rides, man, whew. And it wasn't just one ride. Some people will be like, well, you only rode it once. Like I said, 31 times. It was crazy. It was great. It was a fantastic ride. It actually got into my top 20. It's my number 20 now, which, it beat rides like, Thunderhead, Superman, Ride of Steel. Those are some pretty highly regarded rides, and it topped those for me. So I think that's a pretty solid attraction right there. It did not beat Fury. Like a lot of people were saying, a lot of the Carowinds fanboys are saying that Copperhead's better than Fury, which is totally false, totally wrong. But, they go to that park a lot. So, I don't know. It was a fantastic ride, though. And then, so let me get back into the story of Coaster Campout. So we go and we're walking back to the park. And again, keep in mind, there's no one there. It's pitch black. No one's there. It was fantastic walking through. We walked into Nighthawk and, it's dark and it was awesome. No one's in the park. And then we make our way over to Harmony Hall again, and there's basically like 10 or 15 people in there, and we're all watching the Peanuts movie. We got free popcorn, free soda. It was incredible. And then after that movie, we walked outside, and they were getting marshmallows ready. We were roasting marshmallows. They had a fire pit out there. It was incredible. It was just amazing. Then it was time for lights out, and it might sound terrible to sleep on the ground and to sleep, it had rained a little bit, so it might be like, oh, yuck, that sounds terrible, but I got some of the best sleep I've ever gotten, because I was so tired, because we were up till like 1 in the morning riding roller coasters and stuff, but it was amazing. And to wake up and just to walk outside and be at a theme park, just to be there, you don't have to drive, you don't have to, walk from your hotel, like Cedar Point, you're just there, you're just in the park. That's incredible. That's amazing. There's nothing like it. And, I had some friends that I had invited with me, and they were like, I just don't want to camp. And I'm like, you're lost. I'm not a huge camper. I don't camp like, I'm not a Boy Scout or anything crazy like that. I don't do a lot of that camping. I've camped like twice in my life, 2 or 3 times in my life. I like it. I don't mind it. But I'm not a fanatic. So if anyone, you're on the edge, like, I don't like to camp. If you're an enthusiast and you're gonna not do it because you don't like to camp, then I feel like that's a terrible excuse, because it is a ride it's an event that's well deserved. I don't care if you're camping. I don't care if you had to sleep on the ground bare without a tent. I would do it because that's how great the event was. So you wake up in the morning, and I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but they had like maintenance workers come over, and they had like their leaf blowers. It was really, 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 really loud and really, really annoying. It was like 7 in the morning, crack of dawn, with the big leaf blowers. And I was like, wow, that's kind of. Last year, one of the friends that had been there before said that they would, started playing music to wake us up. But I guess this year they got kind of annoying. You're like, screw it, just send the maintenance guys over there with the lawn mowers and the leaf blowers and wake them up. So that was funny. So then we got up, rode, and got over. And this is the one thing I was really disappointed with, but the solution was equally as good. Fury. We get over to Fury and it's down, and we're supposed to get ERT on that from like 9 in the morning till 10 if the park opens. And so the park is down. The ride is down. And so we're talking to the lady that's running, who has a very, very is a big attitude. It's not, probably doesn't understand what's going on. Probably doesn't understand there's an event. But she had an attitude, and we're like, we're here we got the wristbands on. We're like, can we ride, or can we get in the station? Or really, we were waiting. We were like, when is this going to open? Because we're supposed to get ERT. And again, $200. I expect to get my ERT, and we weren't being rude about it, or we weren't trying to be rude about it. Maybe it came off rude. But we were like, when is this going to open? She's like, I don't know when it's going to open, blah, blah, blah. But the thing that ticked me off was then like a crowd of like 30, 40 guys came over, and like Virginia Tech guys or something, and they're just there. Like, they're not part of the event. I don't know how they're there. It was really, really strange. So, I don't know about that, but it was a group of big, like 30, 40 guys came over, and they basically got ERT with us, because then they opened the ride up about 15, 20 minutes later, and they got ERT with us. But, it wasn't that big of a deal, because we got about 15 rides on it. But the cool thing was, to fix that solution of the ride being down for about 20 to 30 minutes into our ERT, they extended our bands, and they actually acted as quick queue for the next hour. So for an hour, we had quick queue on Fury after the park had opened. So that was really awesome that they did that. So yeah, that was my Carol. And then, then we dispersed, and actually later on in that day, it got really crowded. So we left and went back to our hotel for that night, got in the hot tub, came back, and then we waited in line for Fury for about 3 hours. And then we got last ride of the night on Fury. And I tell you, that might have been the greatest ride on Fury I've ever had in my entire life. Like, earlier in that morning with that ERT, I was like, wow, I'm considering putting Lightning Rod, El Toro. Yeah, I was considering putting a lot of things in front of this coaster. But then we got that last ride of the night, and I was like, wow, that was amazing. We got solid ejector on those last 3 airtime hills. It was flying out of my seat, and I was like, wow. That was something I'd never experienced before on that ride. So, and that's coming from someone that, like I said, was willing to. I'm not one of the Fury fanboys that, like, no matter what, even if it's running terrible, I'm not like, well, it's Fury. I was literally sitting there going, I might have to put Lightning Rod and El Toro in front of this, because it's not running. And you might say, well, that's logical. El Toro and Lightning Rod are better. I'd never put those two coasters in front of Fury before, but I was considering doing it in my list. So that's how bad it was running in the morning. It was running pretty sluggish, but it warmed up. I tell you, it warmed up later that night. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is another new ride that we're going to discuss, and that's Busch Gardens Finnegan's Flyer. So Finnegan's Flyer is the S&S Scream and Swing coming to, or it's already come to the park, Busch Gardens Williamsburg. It actually opened up this past weekend, and I got to attend the opening day. And I tell you, it is a fun ride. It's themed very well. I love the Irish theme with the the vines going up the side of the ride. It's almost painted on there. And it's funny. It's one of the rides that, kind of like Apocalypse before they changed that to Firebird at Six Flags America. It's a ride that the theming is basically like not the theming, but like the mural on the actual support structures are like moldy, and they look like old and Irish. Like their vines growing up them. So I'm like, this is one of the rides that, as it gets older, and it starts to like actually look kind of old and molded and faded, it's going to actually look better, because it kind of is going to go with the theme. So I thought that was really cool that the support structure was kind of like themed to be molded and stuff. So that was great. But I have to tell you, you have to face the station. So when you ride that ride, face the station, because when you fly up and you're looking at the water, it's amazing. It's really great. You feel like you're a couple hundred feet in the air, because that water is way down there. It was incredible. So that ride is great. I thought it was a lot of fun. I had a great day at Busch Gardens. Rode some of my favorite roller coasters like Paul's Chariot, Elephant Guys, Griffin. I tell you, that park is so good. And like we talked about last week, I think it's 10 million times better than King's Dominion. So yeah, that's Finnegan's Flyer. It's a fantastic ride, something that I advise all of you to ride when you go to Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Probably my favorite Scream and Swing, just because of the theming and the attention to detail. And you might say, well, it's one of the smaller models. How can that be? It did not feel like a small model. It really didn't. I really was surprised by that. I thought I was going to significantly feel the difference. How it only goes 45 miles per hour, how it only goes a certain amount of height. But I didn't. I really didn't. And it surprised the heck out of me. I was really excited. It was really great. Alright, guys. I'm actually going to end this live stream because I have to go real quick. But I'll finish this podcast episode. I'll have it up probably by tomorrow. So if any of you want to continue listening to the rest of the podcast later, you can do that as well. So I'll see you guys later.